The people that are the most productive are not the ones that do the most work. Stop doing the wrong things. Anyone can be more productive, and it's actually simpler than you think. I've been chasing the latest tech gadgets, the productivity hacked, but the best advice that I ever got that really upped my productivity game like no other was simply to just stop doing the wrong things. It sounds crazy. Who does the wrong things? Well, I've been guilty of this quite a bit, and it's actually a common mistake that I see with a lot of my new coaching clients that come to me. It feels like you're doing a lot of work. You're working your ass off, but you're not really moving the needle on productivity. Maybe you can relate. I'm going to give you 4 things in which you can take actionable iterations of by the end of this video. Keep the first things first, to not reinvent the wheel. Cash flow is life, and future Homer problems. And what's really interesting is about the future Homer problems at the end of this video. So let's dive into this. Who am I? I'm Jake Harris, managing partner of a private equity real estate company. We've done over 1,200 property acquisitions and dispositions, so buying and selling across 23 states. I invest into lots of real estate, and what I'm doing is actually breaking down some of the systems and the mistakes and the lessons that I've learned over the last 20 years, and then diving them in and sharing them in videos like this. Let's jump into it. First things first. It reminds me of a story about my friend John. John is a super successful guy. He's very smart and in many areas of his life. But when I caught up with him recently, he was super frustrated. Turns out he was stressed because he was busy setting up his new business, ordering new computers. He was meeting with designers, for letterheads. He was reviewing all these pricey CRMs, customer relations management software programs. Should he get the $5,000 one or the $10,000 one, the 1 terabyte hard drive or the 2 terabyte, all impressive stuff, till I asked him about the one thing: what about sales? Guess what? He hadn't made any. He was so caught up on these tasks, he'd forgotten about the first part of the business of selling his product. Well, I explained to him all the things he's working on are great, but without sales, none of those things really matter. He can track all of his customers on one hand, which is 0. So let's assume he does get some sales. He could still use his phone and a piece of paper with a pencil right now. It's better to focus on the first things first. In John's case, was sales. So number 2, don't reinvent the wheel. John was new to direct selling. He had some pretty unique ideas about how to attract customers. I asked him, how do most of the people in the industry do this? And he told me they do calls, they set appointments, they go to some conferences. And I said, why are you trying to not do those things? And he said he didn't want to be like everyone else. And I can resonate with him on this because I'm a contrarian, and it's more in my nature to go against the grain than it is to go with the flow. But in this case, let's assume that the industry does some of these in the sales process because they work. What I have to remind myself, and the advice to my friend John, was until you have mastered the basics, you should not reinvent the wheel. Starting a new adventure is hard enough by itself. Don't also try to invent a new way to market it as well. You just need predictable results, so do what is normal. Number 3, cash flow is life. Even the wealthiest people on the planet have cash flow constraints. Most business problems can be solved with cash flow. Sales solves everything. So how do you achieve cash flow? Well, I'm glad you asked. It's about doing the first things first. Getting customers, understanding successful ways to attract them. Without sales, even the most successful businesses can collapse quickly. For instance, what if Ford Motors just stopped selling cars? How long do you think it would take for their business to collapse? Nowhere in their right mind would let that happen. But this happens all the time in small businesses and startups. Like my friend John and myself get so busy with the details that we forget about the cash flow is life. It is the lifeblood of your business. On airplanes, they talked about this, is tell you to put on your oxygen mask first so that you can help others. You have to make sure your cash flow is on first so that you can help those problems. This is what cash flow is to your business. It is the oxygen mask so that you can help those downstream items. And number 4, the interesting one here that you're holding out for on this video, a future Homer problem. So this is a scene from The Simpsons where Homer mixes some vodka in some mayonnaise. Sounds disgusting, but he mixes it up and Marge tells him that doesn't seem healthy. And he says, well, that sounds like a future Homer problem, as he slugs down the vodka and drinks it down. And so I've started using that saying, and what it means in my world is that sometimes you just need to deal with the immediate issues before you worry about the future ones. Currently, we're negotiating a $1.6 million cell tower lease monetization. And the attorney raised all these potential future problems about the cabling. It could be ugly if it goes on the outside of the building. While these are all potentially future issues, our current needs are to close this deal to improve our cash flow. John's CRM problem, that's a future Homer problem as well. So to sum it up, it's easy to sabotage your productivity by focusing on the wrong things, by worrying about future problems. But by taking care of the basics, like making sales, you'll see how much more successful you can be in your venture. My friend John followed this advice, and the very next week, he landed several new clients. He discovered, like me, that doing the same thing that other people are doing indeed does work. So my advice to you is the same advice that I give to myself. Stop doing the wrong things. Success follows you when you focus on the right things.